living in Honduras was um, quite the experience. Um, the down it, like I said, it's very hot and humid. I had never seen a rainstorm like the ones that they get in Honduras. Pretty much everywhere in the mission, you're within 100 miles of the ocean, and so you get a lot of rainstorms that are heavy and roll in fast. I remember one thing I always remember is down there a lot of people just have metal roofs, and you would see these storms roll in and you could hear just this wall of water raining down, and you could hear it hitting the roofs and just coming towards you. And it was really cool when you were under something, but man, that was a terrifying sound when you were in the open because you knew you were about to get soaked. The housing down there was, again, very different from up here. Obviously, mission apartments are small and inexpensive, so like I said, we never really had air conditioning or anything like that, and a lot of the cities down there have problems with running water to houses, and so a few of my areas we took bucket showers just because there was enough water pressure to use a shower head. One thing that's very common down there is all houses have this thing called la pila, which is confusing because that's also the word for the baptismal font, but it's not on the houses. You have a pila, which is basically a big concrete basin, and it has a little concrete washboard on one half of it, and then you have the water on the other half. And people down in Honduras use that. That's their washing machine. That's what they use to clean things, do the dishes, all that kind of stuff. And so every house down in Honduras has a pila, even the ones the missionaries were in. And a lot of times guys would actually use those, and after a long day you're kind of sore, and they would fill up the pila and hop in and just kind of soak in it for a little bit, which was nice because there's a lot of walking down there. So that was always a nice way to end the day. Transportation down there, with the struggles with crime and things like that, I only ever had areas that I walked in. The only missionaries in the mission that had a car were the office elders, so the APs and the secretaries, and the rest of us just walked. And then if we needed to travel for, say, a district meeting or to go to the mission home, buses were the way that most people would go. They have taxis down there that some people would use, but those get pretty expensive. So we'd usually, for long distance, they take the charter buses from the U.S. and they send them down there, and so you'd have a large charter bus that would take you. And then in the city, in San Pedro itself, they have these little tiny buses called rapiditos, which are basically just, it's a 12-passenger or 15-passenger van that they've kind of outfitted. And it was one of those experiences where, as someone who is very tall, it was often difficult to ride in the rapiditos because they like to stuff those things as full as they can, and they unfortunately did not appreciate the fact that this gringo was tall and preferred to have some leg room. But yeah, so most of the transportation from city to city is on buses. And other than that, we were walking just about everywhere we went. One thing down in Honduras that you do have to be careful with is, as I've said, the crime rate is high, and so I had a couple experiences. We had one time where we came back. It was the day after Christmas. It was on the 26th. And it was a low point because I had just gotten transferred to a new area, which is never fun right before Christmas. But I'd just been transferred, and it was nice because the area I had been transferred to, they had a family of 4 that was ready to be baptized, and they were going to baptize them on Christmas Day, and it was going to be cool and everything, and we were super excited. And it fell through, as they sometimes do, and it was very hard. And I remember on the 26th, we'd been trying to get a hold of this family that we were going to baptize all day, and they were kind of avoiding us. And about 8 o'clock, we had just gone and just sat on their front porch to wait for them to come home, and they didn't. And so about 8:45, we started to head home, and we got to our house, and my companion went to go unlock the door, and it was bolted from the inside. And we were like, well, that's obviously we didn't do that because we shut the door, and so we couldn't have locked it. And we looked, and I asked my companion if he had left the lights on, and he said, no, I didn't. And we realized someone was in our house, and so we ran over to the neighbor's house and went through their house into their backyard, because down in this neighborhood, all the houses were connected. So we went into their backyard, climbed up onto their roof, and then jumped from their roof down into our yard. And meantime, whoever had been in our house ran out the front door. So we walked in, and they had cleaned us out. Everything was gone. They had taken our money and all of our valuables. And it was really interesting, some of the things that they stole. They took a lot of my companion's clothing because he was a little shorter, so his clothing fit them, and I was lucky enough that they left most of mine. And they had stolen things like our deodorant and our toothpaste, which still to this day was funny to me. But moral of the story is, as I look back in hindsight, don't go into the house if you know someone's in there, because we were extremely blessed and lucky that nothing bad happened. But yeah, we had the biggest thing down there is it is unfortunate. The crime rate is rather high, and I knew a lot of missionaries who had experiences like that. I had one time we were riding the bus home, and a couple of guys got on and robbed everyone on the bus. And the biggest thing to remember in moments like that is don't panic. Like I said, a lot of the people down there are religious and recognize the fact that you are a missionary and don't want to hurt you. Don't panic. Don't do anything silly. Don't be a hero. Give them $5, and they know you're a missionary. They know you don't have a lot of money, so yeah. And obviously, the mission president has better advice for you than that, and so I'll let your future mission president talk to you about that. One thing with Honduras, I was very lucky in this aspect. I got sent to a lot of touristy areas, which is both a blessing and a curse, because Honduras is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. You have the ocean that's right there, and you have rainforests and jungles, and it's just so cool, and there's so many things to do, which as a missionary can be extremely frustrating because you don't have time. That's not what you're there for. And so there were a number of things that I didn't get to do. There are a lot of hikes that are fun. I remember one day as a district we went and hiked a mountain, and we hiked through pineapple fields. This member took us up, that he owned these pineapple fields up in this mountain, and so as we were walking through, he just went through and was just picking pineapples for us, and he had a machete with him and just kind of peeled them right there and gave them to us. And it was fantastic. And like I said, it's a beautiful area. You will never have a lack of things to do for P-Day when you are in Honduras.